with us commencing, I'll formally just confirm that I am Jessie Hand, the Principal at Footscray City Primary School, and we welcome you to our Foundation 2024 information session. It's our first one for this year, and we're really thrilled to be starting the process and thinking about the children and the families that will join our community or have more children join our community for existing families next year. I also have with me here in my office Juliet Thompson, who is our learning specialist and also a leader within our foundation team and across the school, and Sue Southern, our office manager, who manages our enrolments and who's been pivotal in preparing for this session and preparing our process and timelines for enrolments. We've designed the session today based on our experience of what we know you need to know, as well as what we anticipate you want to know at this point in the process. And we are really mindful of you getting a sense of who the key people at Footscray City are that you'll come to know, and also giving you a snapshot of our practices and approaches to student learning, engagement and wellbeing, as well as a sense of how the school operates as a school community, and also clarity on the next steps in terms of enrolment and what that process looks like. We intend that by the end of this session, you'll have greater knowledge of the learning programs that your child will participate in with us in 2024 and beyond. Also an understanding of how we approach learning and teaching and the connections we want and need for your children in order for them to learn and thrive. With an example of just that, we have this wonderful acknowledgement of country that's come from Prep A, our Prep A class of 2023. And on behalf of Rose Girdwood, the teacher of this class, we wanted to share this acknowledgement. In Prep A, we acknowledge and respect Indigenous people, the land, the animals, the sky, and all of nature. We will look after the ringtail possum, just like Indigenous people have for thousands and thousands of years. And the origins of this acknowledgement of country were a series of language experiences where the children were exploring the area within the school grounds, noticing that we have many a ringtail possum who call Footscray City Primary School home. And doing that research, they also discovered that Maribyrnong means I can hear a ringtail possum. And so connecting with the meaning of Maribyrnong and the connection with First Nations people and observing the possums in their habitat here and thinking about how this land has been used by First Nations people for tens of thousands of years, they collaboratively wrote this acknowledgement of country, and we do pride ourselves on using student-driven acknowledgements of country in such sessions. The leadership team at Footscray City Primary School are talented and passionate educators, and we're very proud of the team that we are. We have our assistant principals there, Grace Spite, who is currently on maternity leave, returning next term. Our assistant principal at Foundation to 2, Eliza Kerrin, who's also on maternity leave, and she'll be returning in 2024, so in time to be part of your children's first moments of primary school. Our assistant principal at years 3 to 6, Anthony Curnow, acknowledging that at the moment with both Grace and Eliza on family leave, Anthony is an expert across prep to 6. And as I already introduced, Juliet Thompson, our learning specialist, who this year has core classroom teaching roles, as well as instructional leadership and coaching across the school. Our 2023 Foundation Professional Learning team also are a talented and passionate bunch. Rose Girdwood is our team leader at Prep, and she also is an acting learning specialist, which means she's a member of the whole school leadership team. And you will get to meet Rose in the coming sessions, and also as you visit us for the transition visits later in the year. Gabrielle Ivey, Caitlin Walker and Tiffany McDonald make up our foundation team. And we also have Michelle Tenzik working in our foundation team in an education support role. Some of you may know that as integration aid or teacher's aid, but Michelle works either individually or in small groups with small groups of students, supporting them with their learning, guided by the teachers. Our administration team, who are the front of house, so to speak, and who live and breathe our school values in their interactions with you and their responsiveness to you and your children's needs. Jo Diaco is our business manager. Sue Southern, as I already introduced and welcomed this morning, is our office manager. And Michelle Cox is our administration manager. We also have a new member of to confirm, Elizabeth Miller, who you'll also get to know, and she shares that role with Michelle Cox, both of them in a part-time capacity. You'll also hear me talking about our student engagement and wellbeing team, and you can see there we have Emma Boyd in the student and engagement wellbeing coordinator role. Emma is an education support staff member. So that is a distinction from being a teacher, but she is experienced working with children in the classrooms and in small groups, and has counselling qualifications that sees her running some social skills programs and really supporting students who are showing us they need that extra support. Mental health and wellbeing coordinator Janine O'Brien, and I'll talk to you also about the role that Janine plays in the school, but wanting to give you a sense of the team across the areas of the school. Our mission, vision and values is something that we're really proud of. It was developed through consultation with our students, our teachers and our community, our parents, through a series of workshops, and it reflects what drives us as a school community, and particularly our work as educators with your children. Our mission is that we are future making for every child, so that they are learning to learn, learning to thrive and learning to contribute. We talk about this being our mission in terms of why we come to work every day, why we walk through the gate, and it then influencing all our interactions and all our approaches with the children and families that we work with. It's our vision that students at Footscray City will leave us with skills, knowledge and ways of thinking that enable them to embrace learning, respond to challenges and thrive as active members of the community. We're supporting them to do that each year in their time with us, and knowing that they will then be very well placed to thrive when they move into their next school setting. Our school values are essentially what we need to do in order to deliver on our mission and our vision. And again, these were developed with significant input from students and from staff. We do pride ourselves on being a diverse and inclusive community. We value taking responsibility for our learning and our impact on ourselves, others and our environment. The children being supported to think and act with kindness, and what that means in terms of how they interact with other people and how they consider the feelings and needs of others. And also we value demonstrating resilience, being able to persist, have a growth mindset, being courageous when we're faced with challenges, either in our learning or in our relationships. And these stood the test of pre-COVID life, as well as the pandemic and lockdown, as well as life post-lockdowns, as we're in this new chapter after the COVID-19 pandemic. The mission, vision and values are absolutely crucial to a well-functioning, healthy community, but on their own, they're not enough. You need to have an understanding of what it requires to put that mission, vision and values into action, and for us to be thinking about every child in our school and what their needs are and how we can enable them to thrive. So we talk as a staff about when your child joins us, whether it's for a transition visit later in the year, or when they're in prep and they're starting their school day or starting each session, they fundamentally want and need to know that they are accepted. Am I accepted is a core part of belonging, and a core part to then being able to leverage your strengths and experience success. So we think about how do we communicate with the children and within our classroom communities and more broadly, that every child is accepted and belongs and has something to contribute. They also want to know what the work or the learning is. Children really benefit from having clarity around what's expected of them and what the focus is, what that means for them in terms of their prior learning, prior skills, and what their goals are. And then they'll be asking themselves, can I do it and will I get help? So again, the way that we structure our lessons, the way that we engage with the children, the way that we monitor and track their growth is all about us communicating that yes, you belong here. This is the learning that you're focusing on and why, and them having a voice in that. Reassuring them that yes, they can do it, that everyone can experience success with the right amount of support and time, and that they will get that help that they need in order to thrive. We're going to talk now about learning and wellbeing at Footscray City Primary School and how we go about that core business of a school. And Juliette's going to step in now and talk to you for some of these slides. Thanks, Juliette.
Hi everyone, so glad you're here. I was just thinking about how you've just started your, the 4-year-old kinder journey. Now you're already thinking about the prep journey of 2024. So a lot going on for you, but thank you so much for joining us here today. So as Jessie was saying, student learning at FCPS, we value that learning and wellbeing are at the centre. We know in order for a child to thrive in their learning, they need to be safe and feel a sense of connection, emotionally regulated, in order to access the learning. This is why we have it as a dual focus and for their wellbeing and learning, and that's designed to be at their point of need. On the outside, you can see there's the core elements of how we deliver it. So leadership, assessment, support and resources, engagement, teaching and learning. This also all comes from the framework of improving student outcomes from the Department of Education. But this shows how we focus on learning, wellbeing, the collaboration between the PLTs, the teams, collaborations with you, and also this also facilitates into their results. So the Foundation Transition Program is something that we work on from the get-go. We're already thinking about it from the end of 2022 for your 2024 little ones. So this is a snapshot of what it looks like for your little ones. So main aim is to have a smooth transition from kinder to foundation. So something that we will be beginning soon is we'll be visiting kinders to give us an insight of where they're coming from. So what do they like at kinder, what environments are they're in, and who they are as little learners. We'll run transition sessions in November, and that will have hands-on experiences with their prep teachers. And that gets students familiar with the space, Footscray City Primary School, the students and the teachers around them as well. We'll also offer a transition social story. This will be specific to the grade that your child or children are in, and that will be in for 2024. For example, they might be in Prep A, so there'll be pictures of their classroom, their teacher, and maybe some of the tasks that they're doing, the all-important toilets and where they are, the playgrounds, and so you can read this over the Christmas break, just a scaffold and for them to feel a place of belonging and a sense of they know where they'd be going to for 5 days a week in 2024. We also have supervised play at break times, because we know that they go from such a confined space in kindergarten where they have 1 to 5 teachers compared to an open space, which is, is a bit new, something new, but something exciting for our little ones. We ensure that they are supervised and there is a prep teacher. So we make sure that on the timetable there is a prep teacher, and then we'll say, okay, for this lunchtime, we're going to be playing in the peppercorn playground, and we'll scaffold them types that we're doing and also supporting developing friendships as well. We also work on language experiences, which is something that we'll talk to later on, which is working on little projects that they might work with other students. And then the all-important buddy program with our Year 6 students. This is something that every single little prep gets so excited that when they see buddies is on the time on the day, they know when is buddies, and then you have to keep on getting them. They're just so excited about buddies, but that provides another positive connection within the school. So our weekly overview. So we have a 6-session day that go for 50 minutes each, roughly. So you'll see our core learning areas of, but we've also have wellbeing linked, which stands along our school-wide positive behaviour system, and our 4 R's lessons as are embedded within the curriculum day. So we have reading, spelling, writing, language experiences, maths, and we also have our wellbeing in there as well, and concept as well. We also have brain breaks throughout the day, because we know that they need to have that break for their brain to be able to have that sense of be able to come back from it as well. You'll see that we'll have highlighted on the Wednesday that on the first 4 Wednesdays there's no school for foundation students, and this is something that comes through in the department as well. We use these days to do one-on-one assessments, the English online assessment and the maths online assessment that every single prep from 20 in the Victorian department have to complete. This also helps them scaffolding students to get to a full day of full week of school, because For a little one, that's a lot. 5 days of learning is a lot. So this is a lesson structure that we use at Footscray City Primary School, and it follows which we follow across the learning areas. We've adopted this model based on research and in alignment with the gradual responsibility of instructional, whereby students are supported and scaffolded in their learning. So, for example, if you come into a prep classroom, they might be doing a reading lesson. So they'll have a mini lesson up and they'll be showing what's the focus of the lesson. Then they might have a big book there and do a book introduction. So I might be doing some predicting. What do you think this book might be about? Focusing on some keywords and those type of things. They might be, oh, I can see that there's a bear. I can see that there's, so just having really scaffolding the pictures and that, so they could just have some access their prior knowledge as well. We might introduce some new vocabulary as well there. Once we've done the mini lesson, they'll go off to do some independent practice. So they might be reading their Just Right books, some independent readers that they'll collect with support of their teacher, use the classroom library space with books that they have chosen, which also link to the areas of the curriculum that we're looking at. Big books, and might also do the school library as well, to books as well. While that is happening, we also have guided practice as well. So your child might be working one-on-one with the teacher, focusing on their learning goals, or they'll also be going on a guided group as well, which have a whole group focus. After reading, we go into the sharing and reflect, and we reflect on the lesson. What do we learn? And also celebrate our successes for the lesson as well, because we always need to make sure that we celebrate what we're doing and our new learning as well. So language experience. So this links to concepts and now wondering. So what does this look like at Footscray City Primary School? We actually begin learning language experiences from the first transition session. It extends students' language through an authentic experience. Speaking and listening, reading and writing are mutually supportive of each other throughout the language experience. It begins with students participating in experience. For example, we've done things like an excursion, cooking, craft, making something, or it could be something that was a spirit of a moment. So we had the disco last week, so that could be using some of the ideas that we've got from that, collecting photos and thinking about how could we create this into something new and exciting. These experiences help to provide a shared language within the class, provoke deep questioning, explorations of the 5 senses, and make connections and much more. Through the shared experience, teachers lead discussions and provide students with an opportunity to hear and use new vocabulary and phrases. This shared vocabulary then supports students to write about their experiences and to create text for different purposes. So they might do a recount, they might write a beautiful poem, it might be a procedure or a narrative. We go through a lot of different type of genres in our writing, but then we also make sure that they link to what we're doing as well in other areas of the curriculum. So for reading, our Reading Guaranteed Viable curriculum guides our teaching and learning and our students' individual learning goals. So we focus on purpose, features and structure, phonological awareness, vocabulary, word knowledge, reading process and comprehension. Sorry, there's a lot of teacher lingo right there. Decoding is understanding and applying letter sound knowledge to solve and read words. Comprehension is understanding what we are reading and going through deeper through text discussions. So I'm sure when you're reading with your little one before you go to bed, you've asked all these questions about what's happening through the book. What do you think this book might be about? Those type of questions are all those comprehension skills. We do this through supporting students to engage with a variety of texts and support them to retell main ideas, main events, make predictions and connections before, during, and also after reading as well. So what does their reading routine look like for a prep at Footscray City Primary School? So at the beginning of their prep journey, each student will receive a take-home satchel like the one on the screen. This will support students in creating a regular routine and connects what is happening to school to be practiced at home. We focus on a homeschool partnership at Footscray City Primary School, and this is one of the ways that we instill this. It allows for students to have a sense of independence, where they feel responsible to bring back to school every single day. And even my 3-4s are like, how do preps make sure that they bring the same thing back every single day? Because they don't bring their diaries home every single day. But I can tell you that those preps do, and good on them. This supports consistency, supports them with understanding the routines, and also allows them to feel in tune with what the day will look like at school that day. So what will be included in the satchel is some take-home books that are at their level to encourage good reading habits, such as holding the book the right way, turning pages, pointing to words, and allows them to have the opportunity to spend some time with your child reading books, and what a great time that is. They also have an alphabet placement, and some common word flashcards. So this also connects with our smart spelling program that I'll be talking about shortly. Please feel free if you've got any questions, because I'm sort of, the literacy and just the learning part is such a big area that if you've got any questions, please feel free to add them into the chat and I'll speak to them later. So writing, one of my favourite parts of the day. We use writing as an approach to cater for students and their needs, but we really focus on self-expression. So through writing, for a range of purposes, students are encouraged to share their opinions and ideas, which enables student voice. We use a class writer's notebook where students can plant seeds and ideas before they're writing. Because we have a beautiful idea, we call it a seed, and we let them grow, and that becomes their writing. We explore a variety of genres and engage in writing shared experiences as well. We use mentor text, so e.g. the beautiful book, which I'm sure you're probably all aware of, Brown Bear is such an example. Mentor texts are a written piece that serve as an example for good writing and for student writers. The texts are read with purpose of studying author's craft and the way that the authors use the words and structures the writing. And this is an example of how we've got it on the screen here, of how we use the book Wide Big World and how we looked at the structure of the text. The goal is to provide students a model, and then they can emulate into crafting their own piece. So these are some pieces of writing that have just come from our preps this year. So they've done pretty well considering they're only into their 10th week of learning, and they've only started their 5 days in. So good on them, and they've done beautiful pictures to match as well. So the smart spelling approach. We use smart spelling approach to teach sounds, letters, and common words at school. We have a carefully constructed sequence of words of the week to explicitly teach sounds and letters. So you can see ones here. The first one that we always do at the start of the year is the cat sat on the mat. So they're introducing to the new sounds of C-A-T, but they can also use those sounds in isolation, but they can also connect them to other words as well. Then you can see how the next word is tin. So we've taken away the letters C and A, but they're now being used the letter T connected with I and N to make tin. So we're not teaching the sounds in isolations, rather than we're seeing them in a word. So the focus is building phonemic awareness, and it's to build a strong understanding of letter sound relationships. By exploring letter sound relationships in the context of words, students learn the letters that make different sounds in different words. The approach prepares students for both decoding in reading and encoding in spelling and writing. Through Smart Spelling Foundation, we also explicitly teach students to read and spell common words in the context of the sentence of the week. Mathematics. We lay the foundations of counting, pattern, place value, operations, measurement, statistics, and probability, all in the foundation year. So there's a lot going on in prep. The skills they learn in prep are the building blocks for the rest of their mathematic learning. And this is why we call prep foundation, because they have to get that foundation year correct in order to build upon those skills. We use the same lesson structure that I went through before. Problem solving is an approach that explicitly taught to enable students to make cross-unit links. To be able to tackle the world, we make maths fun through hands-on learning experiences and through making connections with other learning areas such as concept, Last year we looked at living thing, and we thought about, one of the questions was, what is the length of a blue whale? So what did we do? We went out onto the soccer pitch and we measured the size of on the soccer pitch to see how how big a blue whale is. Can I just remind everyone just to be on mute? Thank you so much. And the last one is Seesaw. So the reason why we use our digital platform is that we make sure that it gives students voice and choice. And we know that from in a lot of kinders, they have a portfolio already, and even in childcare systems as well. So we're using that as a part of the trajectory so that you can see that being instilled in the classrooms as well. So what we see on Seesaw is evidence of their learning goals being achieved through photos, videos, and recordings. These are pieces of evidence that your child is achieving their learning goals, and you'll also see if they've got a new learning goal that will come up onto your Seesaw account as well. As a parent, you'll be able to write a comment on Seesaw which your child and their teacher can see. And this is just a great way to celebrate success and just to get generate those discussions of learning at home of what's happening in the school day. Your child, yourself, and their teacher are the only ones to see their Seesaw account. So if I would say Jordan on the screen, only Jordan, the teacher, and their parents are the only ones that they see their Seesaw account. Sorry. You'll also be given that account details at the beginning of the year, which you can log through the app or online. And thanks, everyone. I'm going to pass back to Jessie.
Thank you, Juliet. I've just got to adjust the computer a little bit because Juliet is taller than me. Thank you so much for giving that snapshot, a detailed snapshot of what learning looks like across English and mathematics. And we wanted to also emphasise that our concept curriculum is an area of learning that really drives those links to science, history, civics and citizenship. And as they move through the years, that depth and breadth of the concept curriculum broadens as well. So your child will have the opportunity to participate in those inquiries within those units. And what we've got here in terms of the wheel is a structure that we use to guide those learning cycles when the children are doing a science unit or a history unit, for example, engaging in the unit, looking at their prior knowledge, thinking about the wonderings that they have, and then planning for how they can explore those questions and wonderings, how they can do that through collaborative projects as well as their own individual tasks, being able to, as they gather evidence of their wonderings and think through particular questions, being able to explain what they're discovering, for example, about the blue whale in the living things unit, and then being able to elaborate further. So, for example, they found out through a wondering how long a blue whale is. They may elaborate on that by choosing some other sea creatures of interest and then comparing the size of those animals. We also want the children and the teachers alike to be evaluating what we've learnt, what we wanted to find out, and whether we've achieved that, whether there's anything further that we want to learn, and then building always towards how can we apply that learning through sharing that with other people, hosting our families for a celebration of learning, being amongst some of the options. We have protected lessons for these concept units throughout the week, as well as embedding that learning within English and mathematics where it lends itself well. This is an example of some of the concept units that we have running across our foundation year, and you can see that it's covering a broad range of the curriculum areas with science, health, history, and other more than one science unit, with physical science and biological science, and then also looking at sustainability and its link with design and technology. You can see that we structure those units by understanding, which connects to the big picture of the curriculum for foundation, as well as questions that can drive the inquiry that the children engage in, but not solely, as in we don't exclude the children having their wonderings and their questions and chances to explore those as well. We develop these key questions knowing what the curriculum is asking us to explore with the children, but certainly it doesn't exclude the chance for the children to explore things of their interest as well. Our specialist programs are a great Well, I'll say a great source of pride, but also with that incredibly valued at Footscray City. The children participate in 4 specialist programs across the week, and you can see those listed there, covering visual arts, performing arts and music, PE, and our language other than English is Chinese, Mandarin. All of our teachers are very passionate about their curriculum areas and what they have to contribute in a well-rounded learning program for your child. And all of them are very passionate about connecting with other areas of the curriculum. So we see history and geography being explored in Lotan Chinese, for example. We see science and mathematics being explored in art, music and PE, and always across all 4 a focus on the children and their personal and social capabilities and being able to learn collaboratively and to problem solve and inquire together. We also offer instrumental music within our program. I emphasise that is a user pay model. So we have instrumental music teachers who work in the school, collecting children from their classrooms for 30-minute lessons during the day. Some children also have scheduled lessons before or after school, and those children are then returned to their class by their instrumental music teacher once their lesson has concluded. Emma Rudin, who's one of our music teachers, does coordinate that instrumental music program and recruits those instrumental music teachers. They are incredibly talented musicians and educators, and many of them are practicing musicians. So the quality of the instruction and the education for instrumental music is quite a unique feature of our school and something that we pride ourselves on and understand the connections to other areas of the curriculum and what it does for a wonderful, wonderful learning experience. We wanted to tap into student engagement, health and wellbeing because we appreciate that it's always been a priority area, but I think in recent years more than ever. And certainly when you're trusting us with your most precious little person or one of your most precious little people, their learning, engagement, health and wellbeing is at the core of your thinking. So we are a school that implements school-wide positive behaviour support, which we use the acronym SWPBS, and that's a department initiative around establishing frameworks that can support children to be engaging in positive behaviours, positive relationships, and have the skills and strategies to manage challenging situations. We also implement rights, resilience and respectful relationships, which we call the acronym the 4 Rs, and that is also a Department of Education endorsed initiative in partnership with Melbourne University, and that sees the children engage in structured lessons each week that explore what the skills required to be resilient and to be able to bounce back from challenges or respond to challenging situations, what it looks like and feels like to be in respectful relationships, and the character strengths it requires of us, as well as how we can navigate if we're in a relationship or in a friendship or a social situation that's proving not healthy, and how we can navigate that. We also have our mental health in primary schools participation. That's a pilot program, again, through the Department of Education, but also in partnership with Murdoch Children's Institute, and that's where we have been so fortunate to have Janine O'Brien join us as our mental health and wellbeing coordinator. And we also draw heavily from the personal and social capabilities in the Victorian curriculum. What you can see here is some wonderful little people role modelling and acting out and exploring what showing kindness, resilience and responsibility looks like, sounds like and feels like, which is part of our startup program for each year and is also then taught explicitly throughout the year. And those little symbols here represent our 3 values rather: a paw print for responsibility, a sunshine for resilient and a heart for kindness. And that's part of our celebrations and acknowledgements. So your little person next year may come home with stamps that indicate that they've been acknowledged and celebrated for living our school values and the positive impact that has on them and on other people. We just wanted to go a little bit deeper here in trying to explain, without too much teacher talk, our approach to engagement, health and wellbeing. The idea with implementing SWPBS and the 4 Rs, for example, is that forms our primary prevention component of our wellbeing programs. And the research shows that if you implement those programs with fidelity and have them gain momentum in how they're utilised within the school from foundation to year 6 and in the specialist programs, that you will actually be capturing 80% of the students and their wellbeing needs. And that provides a foundation to then have the majority of our students experiencing success in this area of their learning and their relationships. We know that we have children who need more small group or specialised support, and that's that 15%. This isn't our data, by the way. This is the research around a tiered intervention model. But we know that there's students who need those additional small group times or explicit teaching around particular behaviours and particular strategies for managing challenges. And that's why we have our engagement and wellbeing team who help to provide that middle tier, that tier 2 of support. And then we also know that there are students who need particularly specialised supports in their health and wellbeing, which sees us partner with those, thinking about that 5% in tier 3, which sees us partner with allied health professionals such as occupational therapists, psychologists and speech pathologists who are supporting students with particularly acute needs. And indeed, we've recently employed a speech pathologist on staff also, so that's helping us to tap into that 5% by virtue of our own staffing, as well as those that access allied health privately. Recent initiatives in terms of our work around SWPBS. Last year we reviewed post-lockdown. We reviewed our expected behaviours matrix, and that was done through work with the children, work with our school council subcommittees, and work with our teachers. And we're at the moment have that expected behaviours matrix being explicitly taught as part of the startup program in 2023. The research shows that children knowing what's expected of them is crucial, but they need to then be explicitly taught how to deliver those behaviours and develop the skills required to behave in those ways consistently, just like we teach them explicitly how to read, write, and do mathematics. We also, you'll see there those images, we had a mascot competition for our 3 school values, and they are currently sitting with a graphic designer to have them made up into let's call it the architecture that will be visually available around the school and online and for you as parents. We landed through a student voting system with the responsibility be, the kindness quokka, and the, oh my goodness, now thank you, and the phoenix to represent resilience. So we, as I said, startup program this year, very explicit around our expected behaviours and giving children the chance to learn how to deliver on those. Celebrations and acknowledgements set up in each classroom so that there's that constant reinforcement of positive behaviours and the feedback that children deserve, both when they're showing those behaviours as well as the feedback and support they need if they're not. That shows us they need extra support, and we provide that. We're also teaching students ways to reflect on that, you know, if they've had an experience where they've had big emotions, you know, challenges with playing with friends or taking turns in a group, for example, is often a theme in prep, helping them to reflect on how they were feeling, what the problem was, and what strategies we can draw on to help solve that problem. We also are looking forward to developing a scope and sequence around how those behaviours are taught consistently throughout the year in 2024 and beyond. A little bit of insight into the mental health and wellbeing coordinator role, given that we're in that mental health in primary schools pilot, and it really is a unique offering at Footscray City Primary School. There are some, we're one of a cluster of schools in the inner west that have the opportunity, and we're thrilled to have Janine with us, and that role that Janine's in is funded until 2026. At which point the school, no doubt, we will commit to having that continue because of the positive benefits. So you can see here that we want to build the capacity of our staff through Janine's work in understanding and recognising the wellbeing needs of children, and then thinking about utilising the mental health continuum and the available resources around resilience and wellbeing to think about how we can respond to children both in the classroom as well as in small group or one-to-one interventions. Janine's role is very much about advocating for students and supporting parents in understanding what options are available to them in pathways for referrals, for example. And we also have Janine working in our classrooms, monitoring particular students, supporting teachers in how they can respond to those needs, feeding that back to the leadership team and liaising with parents and us making decisions around how we'll target our interventions. So again, we're really proud to be part of such a research-based, evidence-driven program with Melbourne University and Murdoch Children's Research Institute. We're also, you may have heard, part of the Footscray Learning Precinct, and again, that's a unique opportunity that we have as a school in Footscray, and we join our friends from Footscray Primary and Footscray High School as the three schools that form part of this precinct, which has as its big picture goal to be a world-class education provider with excellence in learning and teaching being provided to children in the inner west at all stages of education. And with that, I emphasise that we also have the Billy Button Children's Centre that is managed by Sparkways as part of the Learning Precinct, and they're just next door to us, and they're doing incredible work around high quality early childhood learning and teaching, and we have much collaboration happening with them already, as well as other early learning child providers in the area. And also it sees us partnering with Maribyrnong City Council and Victoria University as precinct members also. You'll see here a great example. I don't know if you've seen the mural on the wall of our gymnasium. It's an absolutely beautiful art installation that is an example of what we can achieve when we're in a precinct collaborating with one another. So students from all three schools, the primary schools and the high school, had the chance to come together in a series of workshops over a number of months with professional street artists that were recruited and employed by Maribyrnong City Council as part of their Streetworks project. So partnering with Maribyrnong City Council saw us get access to incredibly talented artists that worked with the children, developed some concepts, and then brought the design back to the children for further input before it was then installed on the mural in between one of the lockdowns, I think. And Victoria University partnered and made a fantastic video showcasing this. So again, an example of what we can achieve when we're collaborating and thinking about opportunities to make our community a richer place through collaboration. Also, a core part of the Footscray Learning Precinct is our infrastructure delivery. So we already have our gymnasium, which was funded through stage 1 of the Footscray Learning Precinct capital infrastructure. And now we're in the process of having our main building refurbished. So $14.3 million was allocated to this modernisation of our double-storey main building, a 1970s monolith, you might say. And we've started, the refurbishment will be done in thirds. So at the moment, we're in stage 1 of our refurbishment, which sees the centre of our main building, ground and first floor, being demolished essentially, and new learning spaces built, new office admin area built, new meeting rooms built, and then hopefully around springtime, around September time, we'll have the opportunity to have that first stage completed, which will then see us move on to stage 2, which is the Hyde Street end of the main building being refurbished, followed next year by the final stage, the stage 3, which sees the railway line end of our main building refurbished. All of it is to deliver, as I said, modern spaces that support collaborative learning and teaching. And you can see that the design is based on a learning community model. So you have a central area with 4 classrooms moving off that central area. We're already experienced with using these kinds of learning spaces. About 5 years ago, when we knew this type of design was coming, we implemented that approach at Year 5 and Year 6, and we've seen great success in students being able to collaborate based on shared learning goals, shared interests with children across their cohort, not just limited to their class, but also with that anchor of having their classroom teacher, and the teacher supporting those children. The teachers work very collaboratively and engage in team teaching as well, so the children get the opportunity to work with different teachers as well as different students beyond their own classroom. We wanted to talk a little bit about our structure and move into a kind of school operations type process. I'm just going to touch base and see, were there questions that were coming through that were, no. Feel free to keep using the chat, and know that we'll also pause at the end and, pardon me, just grabbing my timer. And we'll also try and protect some time at the conclusion of the session in a little while for any questions. But we wanted to share with you the structure that we have for classes this year. It doesn't mean that this is the structure for next year, but it does give you a sense of the kind of average cohort sizes and then class sizes that we're working with. You can see that we run straight grades, except this year in 3-4. That was a decision that was made late last year based on available staffing. We had previously planned for straight grades from prep to year 6. We do not have an issue with composites. We know that children experience success in their learning if we've got the best possible quality teacher in front of them. But we also knew that with the recruitment situation that schools are in at the end of last year, that having 3-4 composite and having 6 outstanding teachers was better than perhaps having a lower quality in front of our students. So rest assured, we are very proud of our staff, and they are outstanding educators and very committed to the children and their needs. I do point out that the class size at year 5 and year 6 is not the usual class size for a primary school. That's a lot smaller than you would expect. The 26 that we have at 3-4 is more standard for 3 to 6. The numbers at the moment just mean that we have been able to run smaller classes at 5 and 6. So in terms of what happens next for you and your family, and the all-important enrolment process, we are experiencing a slight shift in the enrolment policy from the department, and so we wanted to talk through that with you and try and provide as much clarity as possible. First and foremost, children have the right to attend, the right to be placed in their designated neighbourhood school. I should say the right to be placed in their government designated neighbourhood school. And the designated neighbourhood school is the school that's nearest to the child's permanent residence. If you're in doubt, you can use the Find My School website to put in your address and search for the nearest, search for your designated school. Please don't use any other websites. We have found that people often experience distress where they've accessed non-department websites and been given false information about which zone they reside in. So we will be enrolling students based on those for whom the school is their designated neighbourhood school, as well as those children who have a sibling at the same permanent address who are attending the school at the same time. That does mean that some of our children may not be in our designated neighbourhood area by virtue of coming to the school with a sibling already attending. Families sometimes live in this area and then for whatever reason during their 7 years may move out of the local area. It does not mean those families have to leave. They can choose to, but certainly those children with a sibling already in the school are priority placed as per the department's enrolment policy. Now, we've broken this down and you can see that there are some dates that we want to draw your attention to. And this timeline and the specificness of the dates is what is given to us by the Department of Education. So this isn't us making a decision about our process, it's as guided by the department. So you can see here we are in term 1 running these transition information sessions, hello. And then in term 2, we are going to receive enrolment applications from parents and carers from Monday the 24th of April. For those of you attending today, you will receive an enrolment pack from Sue Southern as part of our enrolment process. And in term 2, from that 24th of April, when we start receiving those enrolment applications, we will be processing the families within the designated neighbourhood area and or siblings first, progressively throughout the term. All other enrolment applications, so if you're wanting to submit an enrolment application but we're not your designated neighbourhood school, we will accept your enrolment application and will hold that for processing in term 3 once capacity can be determined. There is now discretion for schools to enrol for children from outside of the designated neighbourhood area if the principal considers there to be the capacity to do so. Enrolment applications from parents and carers are to be submitted in term 3 by the 28th of July. So you can submit them from the 24th of April up until the 28th of July. It's a very important deadline. Even if you're a local family for whom we're your designated neighbourhood school, please adhere to that 28th of July deadline. It helps us to plan and know what we need for staffing, what we need for classrooms and resources, and also what capacity we have to enrol anyone from outside of the designated neighbourhood area. Schools will notify parents and carers of the outcome of the enrolment applications by the 11th of August, Friday the 11th of August. And then we will also have a process where non-placement appeals from parents and carers can be lodged by the 25th of August. We'll be notifying parents and carers in writing of the outcome of those non-placement appeals. So, for example, if you're not in our designated neighbourhood area, by Friday the 15th of September. Now, I'm going to contextualise this a little bit. If we find that we've got capacity for 6 more prep enrolments after we've enrolled our local children and our siblings, then we would then enrol children who are outside of our designated neighbourhood area based on who is the next closest to our boundary. So it's not to our school, sorry. It's not first in, best dressed. I'm out of the area, but I put my form in first. It's about who is the next closest to our school and how many places can we offer based on the enrolments we currently have and the capacity that we have in our class sizes. You'll know about that from the 15th of September. I encourage you that if we're not your designated neighbourhood school, and you want your child to come here, follow this process, but also follow the process of your local school so that they know who you are, they know that you may be coming, and then you may notify them later that you're not, but at least they've had that knowledge of you and they were able to plan for the possibility of you attending. And indeed, it's your peace of mind that you've covered your options in what I appreciate can be a stressful time. In term 4, we're running 3 transition visits across those Wednesdays, which you will find out more information about closer to the time. It does involve you bringing your child to the school at approximately 9:30, them staying with us and having a wonderful time doing learning and activities and collaboration and play with their new friends and their teachers, and then being picked up about an hour and 15 minutes later. The sessions will also include an offering for you as families with further information sessions and workshop type model that we offer for families for you to access at your discretion.